Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? You're green.
I am.
Welcome, new students, to Shiz University. Miss
Elphaba.
You can room with Miss Galinda.
Popular. I know about popular. Oh, I saved you some space, by the way.
Do you really think this is fair?
I do not. I was promised a private suite. But thanks for asking.
Please, everyone take your seats. In today's Oz, a real sorcerer who possesses true magic has become all too rare.
Absolutely remarkable.
That was you who made all that happen. How did you do it?
I don't know. I've never known.
You, come with me.
Of course.
Not you. You. You're the one the wizard has been waiting for.
Galinda?
Yeoh!
I know. It's my granny's. I'd give it away, but I don't hate anyone that much.
Hey!
You should join us tonight. And don't tell me you have nothing to wear. Because you could wear this.
Something has changed within me.
She doesn't give a twink when anyone thinks.
Something is not the same.
Of course she does. She just pretends not to.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz summons you to the Emerald City. Come with me.
What?
To meet the wizard.
I couldn't possibly. This is your moment. I'm coming.
The great and terrible.
Something bad is happening in Oz.
The best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy.
You have no real power.
That's why I need you.
Don't let her get away! This wicked witch.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not afraid. It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
Welcome to the table. You are now listening to the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Table Podcast. The Real Table Podcast. And if you're watching the video right now, there's a different setup right now. I am with the wife that I've talked about over the past few weeks here and there, the one that I've married. She's been on this podcast a few times. 2 times, she just said 2 times. So we're sharing a mic because we are what we call poor. Say it again. We are what we call poor. Right. So when you're poor, you do what you got to do to make it work. So if you're watching the video, you can see there's one mic and there is one set of headphones. And that's just the way it's going to roll for the day. But in 2 people, but it's going to work out just fine. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my wife. Once Lynlea Kaylee, now Lynlea Carder. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lynlea Carder. Lynlea, my wife. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Welcome to our dining room, everyone.
A beautiful dining room. Blank wall. Wooden table, wooden chairs. It looks pretty nice.
Not right now.
Yeah, not right now. So this is a fun episode. I'm excited. I'm itching, like scratching to do this episode because last night we're recording this. This is Monday night. So if you're listening to this, it might be Tuesday, it might be Wednesday, it might be whatever. On Sunday night, we were lucky. We were lucky enough to see Wicked. Now, here's the thing. People, I think right now, a lot of people are like, you've got the insider, no. Like, let me cut that out right now. I am not that cool yet. The Real Table Podcast is not that cool yet. I'm not that cool yet. Screeners are easy for people to get. You just have to look and you have to be aware, which is a lot of work for people. It's fair enough, right? This person that I go through, they post all the time on Twitter, so I just have my Twitter notifications on, and they post, and boom, I eat them up. So we were lucky enough to go see Wicked. Now, off the top of my dome, because I forgot to do notes, so this is going to be fun. Off the top of my dome, Wicked has been in production since 2012. It's been in what we would call development hell, essentially. It's the movie version of Wicked has been in production. I shouldn't say production. Production's the wrong word. It's been in development. It's been in development since 2012. They announced this back in 2012. And ever since then, it's just been when stuff like when films of this magnitude, and I like to think when studios care about what they have, it takes a long time for reasons. The new Blade movie, I like to think that Kevin Feige and Mahershala Ali are trying to get it right? Mahershala Ali hasn't left the new Blade movie, which is coming out God knows when, but it's supposed to come. And I like to think that they care about the movie. That's why it's taking so long for it to come out. So Wicked was in development hell it was announced in 2012 and just literally for the longest, now over a decade. Well, come on 2024, but for almost a decade, it was in development hell. It was supposed to come out in 2019, and then it got pushed back, and finally, it's weird to say this, finally, it's here. The musical came out in, 03, 02?
I think we said 01.
01. Wow. 01.
I can fact check it.
Nah. But early 2000s. And it became a hit. It became, if you think about nowadays, if you're a big musical person and you're listening to this, you've been singing Wicked since you were in middle school, elementary school, even some high schools have done it, different Wicked medleys. The rights are not out for high school or for any theater production company, but at least I don't think. But people have been Wicked as generational, right? So this movie is finally out. Jon M. He directed In the Heights. I can't think of what else he's directed. He's directed quite a few things. He's a solid director. In the Heights, I loved In the Heights. I thought it was a solid movie. Crazy Rich Asians. Step Up 2. Step Up 2, that's a different story. I love Step Up for the dancing. For everything. For other things, it's a different story. But Jon M. has he's worked himself up to do what one would think is probably one of the hardest tasks or one of the hardest projects on the shelves in Hollywood, and that's Wicked. Like, I think for the people that I've talked to, they've said, like, Wicked's going to be too hard to adapt into a movie. It's too hard. And so Jon M. was up for the task, especially after the In the Heights, the success of In the Heights. He became up to the task, and we get this movie. And Lynn, you go first. I had to do this podcast with you, but you go first. What were your thoughts on Wicked, aka Part 1? By the way, this is Part 1. I heard people on the line, they were unaware. This is Part 1. So we can get into that a little bit later. But Lynn, thoughts on Wicked? Go.
On the whole thing? Or
just like if I went to ask, like tonight, we were hanging out some friends for Friendsgiving. If people came up to you and were like, hey, how was Wicked? Give me your thoughts on how Wicked. You don't have to dive in, dive in yet, but like, give me your general thoughts.
let me start from the beginning. First of all, honor and privilege. Happy to be here. That's okay. I jumped on to the Wicked wagon late. Obviously I watched Wizard of Oz as a kid and I liked it. It was cool. I was actually in the Wizard of Oz production my senior year of high school. I was Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. And obviously, like, when you call Wicked a hit, I'm going to upgrade that and I'm going to say Wicked's a sensation. Like, it's...
Ooh. Sensation. Keep going with that. Keep going.
It is generational. But I think Wicked swept in and, dare I say it, like, started a movement of, like, people loving musical theater so very much. Not that people didn't love musical theater before Wicked. Okay. But I think, like, Wicked appeals to so many people because it's a story about an underdog, and it's a story that happens before a classic story in a classic movie. I mean, everybody knows what The Wizard of Oz is, and the thing about Wicked is that it tells a different story than what you know in The Wizard of Oz. And I mean, from the music to the vocals to the storyline to the dance numbers to the vibrancy of the set and the characters' costumes, like, it is such a, you are like, it captures you when you watch it. So like I said, I jumped on the Wicked wagon super late. I went and I watched the show in 2021 for my birthday. Before this, I had refused to watch any videos. I had refused to really listen to the soundtrack because I was like, since this is such a big deal, my first experience and interaction with this show must be watching it on stage. And I watched it in 2021. Changed my life. I cried so hard. And so going into this movie, I was dubious considering how mixed the reviews were. And I was concerned that it wouldn't give what it needed to give. Considering how much this musical means to an unbelievable amount of people. And so many different groups as well. So I was nervous about that going in. And the funny thing is that as soon as the music started and as soon as the movie started, I felt that same feeling that I did when I watched it on the stage for the first time, which was that I was, like, captured. Like, I was really hungry before we watched the movie, and Michael very nicely got me a hot dog, and I was 2 hot dogs. And I was, like, about to eat the hot dog, and the movie started, and I didn't eat it because I, like, had to watch. Like, I was so... Go ahead.
You didn't eat the hot dog?
I did eventually eat the hot dog, but not right away.
Oh, okay.
Buzz off. So I, like, I was just, like, the music started, and they take you up, like, the side of a waterfall, and you're seeing birds, but it's that dun 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 dun, like the opening music, boom boom. And I was just like, I felt like a little kid. It was just, I got immediately choked up of just like, it's a sensation. It's an amazing, incredible, monumental musical. And then to see it on the big screen, which by the way, we were sitting so close to, and it's this enormous screen. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I'm so glad we went.
Let's see. Well said, dear. What's yeah, everything you said was, I mean, it's spot on. I saw it on Broadway. I was lucky. I saw it on Broadway, not with the OG cast. But I saw it on Broadway, and the performers on that cast were incredible, and they did a fantastic job as the cast of Wicked. And so I got a chance to see it back in high school a while back, and it was just great to see it. And I was mesmerized. I was mesmerized by it. So I felt exactly the same things that you felt when it started. Obviously, just to preface,
2 theater kids. That's why we felt that way.
This is true. So like, she makes fun of me for being a nerd, and I am a nerd, but like, it's weird. I get the best of both worlds. Like, my palette is so diverse. I love superheroes, I love music, and I'm a musical theater kid, and it's just not like me. You don't like all those things like me. So my palette is so diverse, but yes, everything she said was spot on. The way it starts, towards the middle, towards the end. I try to guard my heart. I tried to guard my heart when walking into this movie. Why? Because I think this movie, or the impact of this movie and just the brand of Wicked, is important, and it's huge. That when you decide to do something like this, you better swing and not miss. You better shoot again and not miss, right? And so Jon M does that. He shoots. Excuse me. He shoots and he doesn't miss. He doesn't miss. He does not miss, right? He does exactly. Yeah, he scored. He scored, as Lynn says right over here. He scored. He does exactly what he needs to do, and yeah, it's incredible. Let's just start going down the list. I created a list right here. Let's start with the cast. The cast is huge. The cast is the big selling point, which I think Universal. Am I right? Yeah, Universal. Universal knew they had to do with this film. You're not just selling the brand of Wicked. You're selling that these. I mean, like every musical, there's a high profile cast. Most musicals, high profile cast. With these projects, Cynthia Erivo, Arianna Grande, Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, Marissa Bode, Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage was the GOAT. Holy cow. Dr. Dillamont. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And okay, I did remember. Yeah, Kiala Sato. I thought she looked familiar from The Greatest Showman. Okay. Either way, the cast is fire. The cast is huge, and Cynthia lives up to it. She's huge. You don't really get a taste of her until she sings The Wizard and I. That's when I knew. I said, yep. I mean, you heard it in the trailer because they gave it to you already. Yeah. The ending riff to Defying Gravity, they gave you that, and it's like, oh shoot, this is about to be good. But you have to sell people on it because you want people in those seats. Most people that know Wicked and also know musical theater know Cynthia. They know who Cynthia is, and so going into this, I didn't need to hear that riff to get me in the seat. I knew she was going to kill it no matter what, but it's a selling point, so they had to put it in there. But the Wizard and I, when she sang that, I said, yeah, we're in for it. Cynthia, what do you think?
Yep. Cynthia is a powerhouse, and you know that about her before you know that about her before she comes into this movie. You know that from The Color Purple. You know that from listening to her sing at any point. And not just in the vocal category, but also as an actress. And in this, she dances too. I've never seen her dance before.
She does dance. Wow. Oh. Yeah, we'll get there.
Hold it. So, yeah, she's exceptional. Something that I was kind of thinking about the whole time is obviously Cynthia and Arianna, as well as other members of the cast, but those two specifically have the biggest shoes to fill. Idina and Kristen are wicked. They are Elphaba and Glinda. And that, how do you fill those shoes? So something that I was looking for is like, are we trying to copy exactly what Idina and Kristen did? Because that is the heart of the show. Or are we making it our own? Cynthia did not give Idina. She did it her own thing. She
couldn't.
No.
She I don't think she would have been able to. She did it.
Yeah, that's fair. She was so exceptional. And the funny thing is, I recently watched an interview with her where she was talking about being Elphaba and getting herself into that character, and she talked about how grounded she wanted Elphaba to be. Because I feel like in the musical adaptation, Elphaba's pretty like she flies off the handle very easily, very temperamental. She can kind of lose it pretty easily. In the movie, that is displayed as well, but she's so grounded otherwise. Like, she's very down to earth. She at least puts out this thing of being very sure of herself, and that's what Cynthia said she really wanted to do with that character. But she takes to the air as she gets more sure of herself and understands exactly what she wants to do. And so Cynthia was discussing vocally that she kept her mouth closed through most of the movie until she got to The Wizard and I, and then she starts to open up because she's getting excited about the possibility of things, and she's talking about singing big. And so when she sings that last note, The Wizard and I, full open mouth, but that's just a split second. Then when she gets to Defying Gravity, it is full open mouth, give it everything I've got, full belt, she's doing the full thing. And that just brings chills to you, because you can tell with Cynthia, and then obviously we're only talking about Cynthia right now, but with Arianna, they were so intentional with these characters. And I think they knew, because there's an enormous expectation on them of being able to fulfill these characters. So Cynthia blew it out of the water, acting wise, but obviously the vocals are impossible to describe because she has just an unbelievable voice. So yeah, Cynthia, I always call her Cynthia, hey, was unreal.
Beautiful. That was great, honey. That whole analysis. I was just listening and just looking. I'm like, it's my wife. She can break it down. Yeah, that's crazy to really think about, because yeah, her performance was so grounded, and it was just as you say that, I'm starting to think about that performance again. And I told her, and I told y'all before as we started this, I am itching to see it again, because I want to retake in these performances, this story, and what it has to offer. Yeah, Cynthia is just, yeah, she's so good. And then you have Arianna, which is a whole different thing, and she's hilarious. You know how Glinda is. If you know the show and you've seen it and you've been in it, you know Glinda is hilarious, and Ariana is great. I think my only criticism with Ariana, we talked about this right after the movie. We talked about this. I wanted more face. I needed more face and emotional. Like, she was giving that emotional from her voice. Like, I knew what she wanted to go emotionally, but facially, I was like, I need more. Like, if I was in that director chair, I'm like, hey, I need more emotionally in that face. But beyond that, I think if she tweaked that just a little bit, that's a out of house performance. It's still a good performance. What can she do better? I think facially, I was missing some stuff where I'm like, I know you got it in there. I've seen it, Glinda live. I mean, I've seen Glinda live on Broadway. I've heard Kristen Chenoweth. We've all heard Kristen Chenoweth. Like, we know what it sounds like and what we imagine it to be in her face. I just wanted that just to be displayed a little more. But beyond that, it is still a solid casting and solid job acting from both the two. The two make a great duo, and they bring it alive. Like, what's the song that I said that was like, I wrestle with Defying Gravity being my favorite. What was the song?
I have more thoughts. I'm gonna get there. Let me have the mic.
All right, go ahead. Have your phone.
Thank you very much for your permission. Yeah, Ariana, incredible. Again, what I was looking for is, are you copying Kristen or do you make it your own thing? Now, with Galinda, her character is so Galinda. Her character is so, I don't even know how to say it. Galinda is Galinda. Like, I feel like with Elphaba, you can kind of play it. She's a little moodier, or maybe you make her more grounded and sweet, or maybe, but Galinda is princess, diva, silly, bubbly, goofy, like Kristen Chenoweth made Galinda who she is. And everyone after her attempts to copy that. I've seen so many videos of women doing and playing Galinda and attempting to do the wah thing that, that Kristen does and be super silly and, whatever. So Ariana does that. She embodies what Kristen put into Galinda, but also makes it her own. She does not copy it exactly. And I think it's such a breakout thing for Ariana because we've seen her play a silly ditzy character before as Kat in Victorious. And we've, any other acting roles that you can think of for her. Like, we've seen her play this silly ditzy character, and then she changed into icon pop star. And she mentioned in the interview that she took vocal lesson after vocal lesson after vocal lesson to attempt to change the muscles vocally so that she could... You are making crazy faces at me right now. I hope you know. So she could change her vocal cords and train those muscles to not sing, pop star-y, but to sing as if she's been singing opera forever. And I think she nailed it. I disagree with the face comments. I think she's had some filler and some Botox, and so it's hard to move her face. But I also think some of that was intentional of, she's playing a ditzy character. And so in the first act, Glinda's very one-dimensional. She is about getting her prince and about being a sorceress and about being popular. Like, that's her whole thing. It's not until the second act that we see Galinda as something more than what she is. What Is This Feeling was probably the best song on there.
That's the song I was talking about. That's the one.
Thank you for clarifying. Vocally, holy moly, from both of them, the harmonies, and this is something that has been harped on so much, but I'm going to harp on it again. Their voices as one blend so beautifully that it's almost like one voice. And I know that is something that they have worked on, and I know that's also something that they very luckily stumbled upon. But their voices blend together so beautifully, and it's unbelievable. What Is This Feeling was so, like, it was shot so excellently. Vocally it was amazing. The choreography in it was incredible. Their chemistry was fun. I love that song. And yeah, Arianna and Cynthia, I can see why they're crying in all these interviews, because I can tell they poured their heart and soul into becoming these characters and embodying them and being so intentional with them. I can't imagine like trying to separate yourself from that after being that character for over a year. Yeah, the casting with those two, exceptional. I could talk about it forever.
Incredible. Also, Jeff Goldblum, who was, he's solid as the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I think he does it what the role needs to have, and he does it. Jonathan Bailey is great, very charismatic. I just found out that he was gay, and that blew my mind because I couldn't tell, and that's the beauty of acting, folks. That's the beauty of acting. All right, he's great as Furious. Fierro. Wow, it's okay. That's all right. Michelle Yeoh was fantastic, a fantastic actress as she is. She does a really good job in this role. Loved every bit of her performance. But obviously, everybody wants to know how those two do, because I mean they're a big part of the story, and they do phenomenally well. Beyond the cast, the music is phenomenal. I usually, and again, I don't know the Broadway track well enough, but usually they do a little different arrangement for the movie versions. I feel like they kind of tweaked the arrangement a little bit, and I didn't hear that as much, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think they touched with it too much, because I feel like since Wicked is so iconic because of what it is, and it's so renowned, I think you can't touch that too much, right? John Powell did the score. Lynlea's fabulous.
How to Train Your Dragon. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that was him. Shout out to you, John Powell.
Not the ASMR. And I'm not good. I'm not even just doing this to throw shade. I really wasn't paying attention to the score as much. I was so enwrapped in the story and what was going on. Usually, score is something I pay attention to.
I think that's because the score was doing its job in telling the story.
Bravo, wife. I love Bravo. Yes, I love that. That's right. So. Yes. Oh, he's doing the How to Train Your Dragon score too. Of course he is, because they're doing a shot from shot. We're not going to get to that right now.
I'm excited about it. I would also say I would like to give major props to background singers and the ensemble for their vocals, especially in Dancing Through Life. Exceptional. And in What Is This Feeling? The harmonies and the swells and the chorus and the ensemble, I mean, it was incredible, and again did such a good job with the storytelling.
You can't forget No One Wants the Wicked. Boom. Wicked. Boom. Yes, ensemble killed that. The music is really good, y'all. I think maybe they went safe, but even if I argue that they went safe with it, it was good. Like, you can't complain. If you know the musical, like, I really didn't see anything that was out of line. Then again, I hadn't heard the Wicked music. The only one I could remember off the top of my head, the only two, is Defying Gravity and Popular going in, but I think everything else sounded pretty much straight the same, like it was out of the musical, out of the stage production, which is what you want at times if you don't want to be different.
Not you holding it down, so I didn't take it from you. And I've heard, we didn't watch it, but the last movie to musical to movie adaptation was Mean Girls. And I heard vocally from... Thank you for that. I heard vocally, not just from the main actors and actresses, but from the background vocals, that it was a flop. And that is not what this was. And One Short Day. Oh, we forgot about One Short Day. And that, there is no good musical without an ensemble. It flops if it's just the main characters. And don't take it from me. And yeah, I would say overall, I don't think it was safe. I think they did it justice. And the score tells a story.
Yeah, the score. I think that's a good part. The score tells the story and does what it needs to do. Also, my thing on Mean Girls, I haven't seen it, but my thought on the outside looking in from Mean Girls tried to be too, what's the word? Too modern, too now. That I think that movie that need to be made. I forget her name. Who did it?
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey argued that Mean Girls needed to be that version of Mean Girls needed to be made, and that millennials and people that grew up with Mean Girls, the original one, didn't need to hold on to the original and needs to open the story up to give it to other people. And all I gotta say is the fact that it flopped and it didn't do what people think it was supposed to do, I think tells the story. And I think Wicked is going to, I think in a sense, In the Heights kind of set the standard too. It made the money, it did what it needed to do. Yeah, In the Heights did what it needed to do. I think we're going to see certain musicals. There's not a whole lot of them, but there's going to be certain ones that it's going to work on screen if you do it correctly. But yeah, ensemble killed the heck out of this movie, and with these types of movies too, I don't just like to focus on the main thing. I focus on the main thing, but then I have to look at the ensemble, the dance moves the dance moves that they're doing in the set. Go ahead.
I just wanted to annoy you. And I also think there needs to be applause for costumes and set design.
Period.
Why do you get to take it and I don't?
I just gotta say one word. Period.
Thank you. Costumes and set design and the writing and the choreography and as a whole, that was a freaking musical. It wasn't a movie. That was a musical, but you just saw it on the screen. It did what it needed to do. And there's a lot of homage to the original, to the movie. As soon as you, Michael.
I was gonna get there, but yes, true. Yeah, true.
I don't care about your notes. I'm talking. There's a lot of Easter eggs in the movie, and I want to call to attention how intentional this movie was, from the casting to everything that we just said, production. Everything about it is so intentional, and I think it's because they knew what a big project this was and what the expectation was and what the reaction would be if they flopped. And that's not what they did. They did not flop.
Period. Set design, visuals. Fantastic. She just said, you got this one. I don't know. I mean, you can speak into it because from what I do know, because what set photos that leaked and things that were taken photos of that weren't leak things, the set design is it's real deal. It is the real deal. This is what I mean. We're gonna get to my guy John. We're gonna get to him. But this is what I mean. They went that extra mile to put you in Oz. The train You'll see it in the movie, and it's CGI. Some of it is CGI, but they actually had like a real modeled version of that train, just to put you in that space, right? The set design of Oz, the set design of what's up? They had a budget, dude, and this is what I mean. Like when I said it, it's been in development hell. They announced it in 2012, and they've been trying to make it ever since, and they finally got it, and they went big, and they went so big. They went like super big, and it was great, and it was worth it. And like the budget did not look like, I know people crap on Marvel movies. It don't look like a Marvel movie. No offense to Marvel, no offense to Kevin Feige. I love Marvel, by the way, and I can't wait to see the Fantastic Four movie, which is probably. I'm excited about some other stuff. I've got my beef with Marvel, but other than that, I love Marvel. I love Marvel. But this is good. It's the real deal. The monkeys, the soldier monkeys of Oz. They look pretty good. I mean, they look like monkeys. They look like monkeys, and when that moment happens in the movie, it makes you go, "Oh, shoot, that sucks." But visually, it really is a good job. They went the extra mile with the set design, with the overall visuals of the movie. Oz looks fantastic. Okay, now we're gonna get to direction. My guy, Jon M. Chu. Jon M. Chu. Jon M. Chu. Jon M. Chu, bro, cooked his life away. And I think he knew too. I think coming from In the Heights, which is it's a known musical. It is a known musical. It was popular. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda. But when you talk about Wicked, I think he knew the task at hand, and Jon cooked away. And I mean, he cooked away from the early moments of the movie. Like when the movie starts, there's this old aesthetic that they play around with that you see. Lynn talked about it before. It was like little Easter eggs of the original movie where they pay homage to. That's exactly what we see in some variations throughout the movie, which I love. It's a respect to what happened in the past and to the now. I love every bit of it, and I think it did not feel out of place. It didn't feel forced. It worked. It made us feel like we were watching, in a sense, a little clip. It was like we're in the same world as the original Wizard of Oz, which was really cool. And I love little things like that point to certain things, because they very easily could have made this movie. I think you could have made the movie without all that stuff, but what you can't do on a stage, you can do in a movie, and I think you're able to elaborate on so much more. So you had to have those Easter eggs, sweetie. The direction, like the old aesthetic. There are different moments in the movie, without giving spoilers. Like, be vague as possible, but like, let's talk about the direction a little bit.
Okay. I mean, there's not really any spoilers because they do it in the musical. Yeah, I won't say specific things, in that very first shot, where you're immediately entranced, like you see some familiar friends, and
like when I'm telling you I'm a nerd for that type of stuff, I'm like, oh, I loved it. You'll know when you see it.
Yeah, I really like those things as well. I'm a big fan of storytelling, and I love the foreshadowing. It's almost like they're dropping little clues, and they're like, hey, don't forget, this story leads to the story. This is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. And so they drop little hints, reminding you, like, oh, this person will turn into the Wicked Witch of the East, and this person will turn into the Wicked Witch of the West. And they give little clues through like foreshadowing and through really simple shots. Like something that I can say this one, like she says like, oh, Arianna says in an interview, she goes, the ruby slippers are unpopular. She came out and said it, which is a pretty obvious one. But there's little, the ruby slippers are unpopular. I don't know, there's just little, Glinda giving Elfie the witch hat. There's many clues lyrically and shown, which is from the original musical, and shown shot wise that remind you of like, hey, this is a movie before a movie. This is a story before a story. And me personally, the second act is actually my favorite because that is where the story ties into the next one. I won't say music wise it's my favorite. The first act does that, but storytelling wise, it's the Wizard of Oz is happening actively. And I love how that all ties together so beautifully. And then the first time I watched Wicked, spoiler alert, I guess, I went, what? I was so confused because it's such a cool thing of reminding you of the harm of propaganda and of hateful rhetoric and of like incorrect perspectives put on a people by leadership. And so you learn, oh, Elphaba was never wicked. They cast her in this vicious light because she didn't follow in their footsteps to continue to perpetuate hatred towards animals. So they create her as the villain. And so in Defying Gravity, she's like, if you want me to be a villain, I will do it. Fine, I will be your villain, but I'm not doing what you want me to do. And she finally is like, I'm sick of people telling me who I am, and I'm sick of people telling me what I can and cannot do. So if I'm the villain, then fine, I will be the villain. And now she's the Wicked Witch of the West. But then you get to see in the second act her continue to try to choose good, and it doesn't work out, which is where we get the glory that is no good deed. And then it ties in I was shocked. I was in shock at the end of the second act because I was like, everything in The Wizard of Oz was a lie, and I've been lied to since I was a child. But it's an important message of rooting for the underdog and understanding why people can be marginalized and oppressed because they're different and because they don't fit in with the popular folk. So yeah, direction wise and shot wise, I love seeing those little Easter eggs.
Also, I'm glad you said all of that. I think it is very impactful. I hope I can clip this out. It is very impactful that Cynthia was cast as Elphaba. Yeah, I think it.
They had many fan casts of people casting like Renee Rapp because she's got the range for it. Yeah, 100%. And Renee was like, it should be a woman of color.
I love that so much because I'm not sure on Broadway if there's ever been one. There has been? Okay. That adds a different level to the performance and to the story of the character, the layers of the character, of who Elphaba is and how she's outcasted. And what's funny is that's all I could think about and why I resonated so much with this movie and this character. Is like all I could see is that because she is green, she is being outcasted, but underneath that green, I knew that the actress was black, and it just was like, man, this is just an underlayer. This is just another layer to this. Honey, you got something. What you got?
I don't know if you noticed, there were times in the musical where they would mess with the lighting, where her skin didn't look green. It looked brown.
See, I didn't see. I saw the musical like that was years ago, so I can't remember.
In the movie.
Oh, in the movie.
Yesterday.
See, this is why I highly encourage a second viewing of certain films. By the way, this is 2 hours and 40 something minutes because it's long. This is why I encourage multiple viewings, and this is why I have an itch to go see it again. But continue.
When she's singing "The Wizard and I," there's a scene where she's talking about how if she does a good enough job and if the wizard accepts her and blah, blah, blah. I can't remember what the exact lyrics are. No. You're too ahead of me. In that scene, do you remember all of the colored glass that was hanging over and she was looking at herself in the mirror? When she turns around, the colored glass, like the sun goes through the colored glass and changes her skin back to brown. So she's talking about in the movie how she wishes her skin was a different color so that she could be more accepted. Crazy.
See this again. Once again, I recommend second viewings. I did not notice that. That's crazy. Yeah, this is why we have to go see it again. That's incredible. But yeah, that's why I really think it is so powerful. And that's why I also think there's some. She was upset with a special poster that was created, and that's we're not going there. I get why she was upset, but now I also think, yeah, we're not going there. I love Cynthia. She killed that mom. But it was phenomenal. And I love the layers. And I think especially the fact that she has a connection to her teacher, who's a goat, who's an animal, who's being basically oppressed, being captured, and all. It's like the layers, y'all. Marginalized, in silence. Good lyrics. Good words. Said lyrics. Good words. Thanks, honey. Beautiful. Again, Jon M cooks. He cooks this movie. I know there is some criticism on the cinematography of the movie, which I think it's fine to have criticism on movies, and I think it's perfectly fine to critique films. I think films need to have a space to grow, to have a space to evolve. If things are not working and they can work better, sure, I think criticism is good. But I still think the movie is pretty darn good. There's multiple women of color. She pulled it up on Reddit. There's multiple women of color that played Alphaba. I love it. And I love that with Cynthia. Highlights. There's one scene I don't think I'm gonna. Is this scene even in the musical? Is it in the musical? The one scene that I'm talking about. I don't want to give it away. Yeah. That's in the musical? Okay. Okay. Alphaba dances by herself in the musical. That scene hits in the movie. It hits in the movie. If you remember that scene, it hits during the movie. If you don't remember that scene, that's okay. Just know that there's a scene that hits. That's my scene. That's probably one of my biggest highlights of the movie. Obviously beyond the one moment that people, if you're like me, you love Defying Gravity. Defying Gravity lives up to the hype, people. It lives up to the hype, right? It's part one. Said that earlier. And if you didn't know it, well, welcome. It's part one. And so the question was, how are they going to do it? It doesn't need to be two parts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't matter. It's two parts. The question has always been, what would it do? How would they split it? I won't tell you how they split it. Just know that Defying Gravity rocks. And it leaves you. Yeah, I was kind of breathless. Because it's not just the singing. It's Jon M understanding the direction. He understands that it just can't be what we see in the stage production. You can do so much more in the movie, and so he evolves that, and he gives something that's very cinematic, and it's daring. Dang, I want to see that on IMAX.
I think something that is so beautiful about the Defying Gravity scene is, yes, that is Elphaba's decision to go off on her own and to embrace who she is and pretty much say, screw you all. But it's also like a beautiful, tender moment between best friends of like, come with me and be an outcast with me. Think of all of the things that we could do together. And Glinda being like, that's not the life that I'm choosing. Like, that's not what I wanted for myself. But like, I wish you nothing but the best. and I will still call you my friend after this. Like, and I think the connection that Arianna and Cynthia have is so deep. Like, they love each other. At least I would hope so. If not, they played off really well. I think they give sister energy. Like, they are bonded and they are connected. And so that moment, when they're both, tearful and they're saying, like, I'm going to miss you. And I wish you nothing but the best wherever you go. To where, like, from where they started, of being enemies and hating each other. It's gorgeous. Yeah, definitely, obviously a standout moment. I mean, that was the moment that brought tears to my eyes. That was ending the show with that is genius, both on the musical standpoint and from the movie. Because you cannot wait for Act 2, which I cannot wait for Act 2 to just see everything unravel. Don't take it from me, I'm not even close to done. Love you. But yeah, well, you invited me on, so if you care to find me, The Real Table with Michael Carter. Your breath smells like onions.
Wow. I've never been more embarrassed, but she's right.
All right, let me talk. So that's a standout moment for me, for sure. And I agree. Like, everything that happens in that scene is so much more than what can be shown on essentially a 2D stage. They can't come out anymore. They can kind of go back, but they're stuck pretty much in place, which is why musicals are so cool, because they're able to do so much in that space, but you can do so much more with the movie. Standout highlight moment for me. Oh, Lord. I loved What Is This Feeling? Did we talk about that already? I think we did. Oh, unbelievable. What Is This Feeling was so good. Hold on, I gotta think about it.
You gotta think. It's like, again, my top 2 was The Dance, which, by the way,
Popular. Oh my gosh. Popular. Obviously, I love that. I've never wanted to sing a song on stage more in my life. I love that song. Arianna kills it. It's funny and goofy, and again, it's the moment where they become friends. Directionally, Ariana's doing stuff I never thought she could do. She's doing these high kicks and swinging around on a chandelier, and Cynthia is so good at being bewildered by her, but also amused by her. They work off of each other so well, and again, that moment where they actually like start to become friends. It's just a gorgeous. I love that song, and I think Defying Gravity is obviously like the song of Wicked, but Popular is a close second, And again, that's a moment where she could go full Kristen and copy exactly what Kristen did, but she didn't. She emulated Kristen, but also was able to do that on her own. I loved it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, Popular was pretty good. It was pretty freaking good. But yeah, Defying Gravity. I'm telling you. So good. Oh Lord, she's reading Reddit theory conspiracies about part 2, which I can't wait for people to see it and to see the conversations that come out of part 1, because now the question does come, because the musical itself is I think it's like 2.5 hours, I think maybe, and that whole movie was 240. Part 2 cannot be 1 hour and 30 minutes. Cannot be 1 hour and 40 minutes. Cannot even be 1 hour and 50 minutes. Part 2 has to be at least 2 hours flat. It has to at least, right? So now it's like, where's the meat coming from? What are we adding? Is it more book stuff? Are we creating more layers, right? I think there's supposed to be 2 new songs that I think would appear in part 2, because there was no new songs in part 1. I know that was a thing where people were saying, like, for the Oscars, for award season stuff, they weren't giving, they weren't trying to promote any songs from the movie because there's no new songs. There's nothing new, nothing original, which, by the way, is very, very refreshing. I kind of like that there was nothing new.
There's one song, again, I've only seen this once, and I should have listened to the soundtrack more. There's one song that when they're in Oz, I'm like, is this a new one? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That might be new, but even then, that was fine. It worked because it worked within a song. I won't talk about what it is. But yeah, I'm kind of glad that there wasn't anything new yet, because I just like that they stuck to what was familiar. Now I think with part 2, because you need to add layers and you need to add body to it, I could see them adding, and I'm pretty sure I read there was going to be 2 new songs. So I'm going to be thoroughly intrigued about what they do with part 2, which, by the way, part 2 is already filmed. They filmed part 1 and part 2 back to back. It is already filmed. Part 2 comes out next year, right? Okay. So I'm thoroughly intrigued. But beyond that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we missed. I think we touched on as much as we could without, giving away anything too deep and too crazy, even though this musical has already been out. I think we touched on everything that I can recall. Do you have? Let's just do it. Let's just do last minute thoughts. What's your last minute thoughts on?
My last minute thought is that I want to see it 2 to 3 more times to fully be able to appreciate all of the moving parts of it, all of the components, to soak in every single song and all of the Easter eggs that they dropped throughout, because I know they dropped a lot of Easter eggs. They said that they did. So to be able to recognize all of that, even they said they hid Easter eggs in the music, they hid Easter eggs. So I want to watch it again. You should go watch it. It blew me away. I said 10 out of 10, no notes. I cannot wait for the next one. And yeah, really can't say enough good things about this movie. It did what it needed to do.
Love it. I wrestle with a 9.5/10. I don't know why the 9.5. I haven't figured it out. I need another viewing. But no, it is worth it. I posted this on my Facebook. I even posted it on my Instagram story for The Real Table. Guys, go see it. There's been a lot of murmurings, not about Wicked, but about film in general, about people just waiting and waiting. Oh, I'm gonna wait to come to streaming. Let me be clear: Wicked will not be on streaming for a long, long time. Why? Because it's going to hit big, right? It is Thanksgiving holiday season. Wicked's going to hit big. Do not decide I'm gonna sit on my couch and not go watch it. Go watch it. Go check it out. It needs to be seen on the big screen. It's a lot. It's cinematic. It's everything you want it to be. At least I hope it's everything you want it to be. I don't know. That's your preference. But don't just go sitting around, right? Go see it, right? Beyond Wicked, Gladiator Part 2. Or Part 2. Gladiator 2. It's just Gladiator 2. Gladiator 2 comes out, which I'm going to see if you're listening to this on Tuesday. I'm going to see this tonight, which I'm hopeful for. And I'm excited about it. Denzel Washington, Paul Mescal, Joseph Quinn. There's some other names in there too. Oh, Pedro Pascal. Can't forget my boy Pedro, Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four, which is coming out in July of 2025. Can't wait. I'm pumped for that one too. This is a big weekend. I told y'all. I've hinted at it in this podcast if you listen to it. If you haven't, welcome. This is a big, big week. Why? Because we got Wicked this weekend and we got Gladiator 2 this weekend. Right? These 2 movies are going to hit a bunch of different audiences. Then next week, I think on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, we got Moana 2. Moana 2 is coming. So this is a big week, and probably the biggest week, I think, of the year. And cinemas are craving and loving every bit of this week. So get off your couch, take your family, invite somebody, and go to the theater. I talked to a friend last night, and she's like, we haven't been to the theater in so long, and there are 3 movies, at least 3. There are 3 movies right now. Again, Moana, Gladiator 2, and Wicked. So that's gonna hit somebody in the genre sphere. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love either one of those, right? There's got to be your taste is lying somewhere within those 3 movies, right? So grab somebody and go see the movie. I know it is expensive, but I'm telling you, 2 hours and 40 minutes, which sounds like, oh, it's a burden, but I'm telling you,
It went really fast.
she's yawning because it is late as we're recording this. The 2 hours and 40 minutes went by pretty fast. It did. It went by fast, and they did a good job because Jon M he's a legend. He's a G. And we'll see. I'm really intrigued how the Academy responds to this movie. Some people are saying Best Picture, and I'm like, easy. Pull back the horses. I don't know if it's going to go Best Picture just yet. I need another viewing, maybe another 2 viewings to really let this movie sit to know if Best Picture is even in its thoughts. It could get nominated, at least. I think a nomination. I think the Academy is going to love this kind of movie. Lynn thinks it's a shoo-in. The wife thinks it's a shoo-in. Hot take. All right. But I'm intrigued to see what it gets. I know set design and costuming, all that stuff is for sure in its cards. We'll love to see, can Arianna make a move? Can she make a play? Can Cynthia make a move? Can she make a play? I think those are their only 2 for sures. Not for sure shoo-ins, but I think they're going to make a run in those 2 departments. Jon M could also make a run in direction. Lynn still thinks they're all a shoo-in. I love that for her. She's Team Wicked. She's casting her vote now. I love that. But other than that, go see Wicked. Just go see it. Go see it. Live it. Enjoy it. I'm itching to see it again. I'm jealous that you guys, even though I saw it before you guys, haha, but I'm jealous that you guys get to see it for the very first time. Right? It's like Lynn says right here next to me. It is magical. And again, going back to the Defying Gravity moment. If you've seen the musical, this is for my musical people. If you've seen it, some people haven't seen it. If you've seen the musical, you know that moment in Defying Gravity that takes you off your feet and your jaw drops and you're like, oh, you're rising in your seat in that moment. That moment exists and it lives in this movie, and it's done well because Jon M rocks.
That moment brought tears to my eyes, and I had to hold my hand over my mouth so I didn't make audible gasping and sobbing sounds. It exists, and it does what it's supposed to do. And Cynthia, again, blows you away.
So if you care to find me, look to the western skies. Lord have mercy if you care to find me. I can't wait to see this movie again. I love y'all. Special thanks to my wife who's sitting right next to me. Thank you, wife, for being on the podcast.
Love you.
I always love getting her on. One day when we are not poor, as we described in the beginning, we will be able to have 2 microphones and we're going to do this thing big time. Big time. Like we in Oz. You know what I'm saying? Like we in Oz, the Wizard of Oz. But yeah, one day. But to all my listeners, thank you for listening to the Real Table Podcast. Get ready for Wicked, Gladiator 2. I'm going to see it, and then I'm going to come back with another episode. Be on the lookout for that, Gladiator 2. Other than that, I love y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Peace. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me today on the Real Table Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and even comment. I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Real Table Pod and on Twitter at The Real Table. And don't forget to also check me out on therealtable.com for news, articles, and reviews. I will see y'all soon. Peace.